this Village of Greenhills Council meeting for May 26, 2020 to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Halter,
Here.
Lee,
Here.
Osmanoglu,
Here.
Hermes,
Here.
Metz,
Here.
Walther,
Here.
and Mayor Moore.
Here. Okay, we have a prayer by Jeff Halter.
Dear Heavenly Father, we just honor those that have served this country selflessly, and those that continue to serve. We thank you for their sacrifice. We pray that we would appreciate that and show that in the best way. I pray that you would give us wisdom and help us to make decisions that are pleasing in your sight, that are best for our community and residents, and that we would do everything before you so that you can welcome us in a way that brings glory to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Okay, I have the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag
of
of the
United States
of America,
and to
the republic
republic
for which it stands,
stands
Stay
one
on.
nation,
one nation,
under God,
Under
God,
indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all.
Should have included
Okay,
I think we pushed the limits of the sound on the.
yeah.
like I was in the canyon.
Okay, I've got the minutes of the regular council meeting for April the 28th, 2020. We have any corrections on that? Not hearing any. Approve the minutes as filed. Okay. And this is the time for citizens to comment on matters before council due to the orders issued by the state of Ohio regarding the pandemic situation. Citizens were given the opportunity to email comments and questions to comments@greenhillsohio.org by 12 noon on Tuesday, May 26th, and have them read at the council meeting. I understand we have some, and if somebody wants to do the time on those, time's limited to 3 minutes. And since I'm on my phone, I can't do both. So if somebody would run a clock and let them know when 3 minutes is up. Okay, clerk, go ahead and read the questions.
Okay, we have 4 questions. The first one is from Monique Masonhalter at 154 Junefield Avenue. I am requesting again that council members take some kind of preemptive action against both 4G and 5G small cell installations, especially near homes. Health and safety risks from 4G and 5G small cell tower disinfection have resulted in policymakers worldwide taking action to stop, delay, or limit deployment. This includes elected officials in Easton, Connecticut, Farragut, Tennessee, Greendale, Wisconsin, Hallandale Beach, Florida, Keene, New Hampshire, Sandy Springs, Georgia, and Santa Barbara, California. If you are not already aware, Greendale, Wisconsin is also a Greenbelt community like Greenhills. They took action in November of 2018. Since 2018, Greenhills residents have voiced concerns and oppositions to both 4G and 5G small cell towers being installed near our homes. We've provided you with information on how you can take action. Until the village takes a survey of all Greenhills residents, it seems inappropriate for the mayor to continue saying that most village residents want 5G. We know he wants 5G because he has said so at meetings. However, I still meet residents who don't know what 5G is. There have been reports published about cell towers near homes reducing property value and 5G base stations overheating. These are legitimate reasons to not want small cell towers near our homes. I hope you will consider all of this while you continue to make decisions for our community. I've included links with my email submissions about where you can find more information. Those will be included with the minutes. So that's the first one. Should I go on to the second one?
Please.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. The second one is from Tim Schmidt. I don't have an address. To the Honorable Mayor and Council members of Village of Green Hills. As a relatively new resident of the Village of Green Hills, it pains me to have to write this letter and to have the questions and concerns I have, but I am truly hoping in the spirit of community that my concerns can be addressed in a manner which reflects this as concerns that apply to all neighbors in a community. The concerns or problems which I now believe require the attention of village government are multiple but intertwined. One is likely more pressing than the other, but both ultimately affect the same thing, maintaining the value of the most important asset, if they are lucky enough, their home. I live at 194 Farragut Road. I purchased my home and moved in November of 2017. Since then, I have come to learn about surface water drainage and specific zoning regarding the parking of running recreational vehicles, RVs, or motor coaches. I will give a brief description of each for context. I am asking questions because I am no expert in either, but hope a reasonable solution is available. The factual description is chronological only and not a ranking of the importance of my concerns, although they are probably equal when it comes to the ability to have a property that maintains the Greenbelt approach to our community. In approximately November 2019, I noticed an RV motor coach being towed into the property located at 190 Farragut Road. They had just put in a new driveway, which caused me concerns based on how it was installed. The driveway was raised higher than the existing one and created, especially in the back part of the property, a wall. It's only maybe a half inch or so high, but as things played out, it worked like I anticipated. At about the same time, the neighbors began fencing the remaining portion of the back lot. Because they simply trespassed on my property without talking to me, I did become concerned. Trespass was more than walking, but laying a portion of the fence in my yard for several days, which I could not move to cut my grass. I tried to talk to them, and if they would have asked, no big deal, and would have been glad to meet my neighbors. Soon after, and over several days, they tried to winch the RV, tied a cable to a tree, and pulled the jack type device because it does not run. The engine is now up on blocks since then into the unpaved portion of the lot to no avail. So they had it towed back onto the driveway where it sits to this day. Next, I noticed they began digging what has become a large pit behind the garage and opposite the fence line in the back of the property. This pit or hole was covered with a large tarp for a month and a half and is still there now. I believe it may have been lined with concrete, but who knows? When it rains, and especially with the recent heavy rains, I discovered they were pumping and accumulating water directly up the fence line and ultimately onto my property. There is also a 4x4 wood beam at an angle across their driveway, which directs all the water from their driveway to the same point.
Time.
Okay,
Okay.
so that's that one. And should I begin the third one?
Sure.
Yeah.
This is from Shelley Keating. At the last council meeting, Dave Moore stated that most people in Green Hills want 5G. I would like to know what evidence Mr. Moore has to this, that this is a fact. The end of that one. And then the last one is from V. Welligy. And it says, statement from Vince Welligy, 92 Julep. For the most part, business leaders and elected officials only want to talk about the great benefits associated with 5G wireless technology, given that it can provide better internet speed and the ability to use new related technologies like the Internet of Things based products. However, there is little discussion about the privacy and safety drawbacks associated with the installation of 5G wireless devices on personal property and public rights of way. 5G technology is software-based versus 4G equipment-based technology. The 5G connectivity constraint is subject to intrusion from hackers using backdoor or calling home mechanisms that can go undetected when installed during regular software upgrades, especially on smart meters. Aside from current federal and Ohio laws that allow for preemption of local authority over wireless installations in residential areas, there is an important separate issue moving forward that a legal case can be made that the telecom, Verizon, etc., can't install small cells or antennas using existing power poles or new construction without liability insurance in place. Wireless infrastructure isn't insurable. Lloyd's of London actuaries have actually excluded EMF, electronic magnetic field, RF, radio frequency, radiation from future policies. As a practical matter, municipalities recognize liability exposure from small cell installations. The liability exposure is not only from EMF, but it's also from other things including falling objects, fire, and injury to installers. A municipality can protect themselves from this liability by requiring insurance. They require insurance by having the telecom execute a master licensing agreement. Telecoms will only promise indemnity instead of insurance. If council members decide to move to a 5G network, residents will insist they require, as part of the licensing agreement, certain general liability insurance without the pollution exclusion. This insurance must be obtained from a licensed third-party insurance company, not a self-insured indemnity substitute by the telecom. The pollution exclusion under the policy will list EMF as a pollutant. If council requires that kind of liability insurance without exclusions, the small cell installation process can be stopped because telecoms can't get EMF insurance. There is nothing in the Telecom Act that prevents cities requiring reinsurance for pollution, which would cause health effects in populations. That's that. That's the end.
Okay.
I believe
And
Mr. Mayor, I believe
yes,
that the last name was Willage because I forwarded
Right.
one of them from him. Okay.
right. Okay. And also, I think I may have the thing on my computer now, but it's telling me to wait to let having the meeting host let me in. So who's the meeting host?
That would be Chip.
Richard.
Okay. And I wonder if it doesn't sound like he's on the air. All right. Well, until Chip, I don't know if anybody can text Chip
I will.
and tell him to let me in. Okay. All right. Reports of village officials, Municipal Manager Yvonne Kovac.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to give another update. We're a little over 2 months into this pandemic and all the situations that's caused for us. So kind of an overall report on our operations as of today. Most notable, our pool opened today, which was a very, very exciting day. There were a lot of changes this year that we've had to make for this summer, and those changes are in response to the guidelines that were generated by the Ohio Department of Health and the CDC. An aquatics risk management firm also weighed in on them, so they have a lot of merit according to those entities. So to have a pool open this summer, these are the guidelines that we have to work with, and we anticipate these guidelines will be with us through this entire season. There's a few key factors that are working together that create a really different situation for us this year. So I'm gonna run through them, and at the end, you'll see that they all come together. One major requirement was we had to determine a social distancing capacity for the pool that's based on a formula that takes into consideration the size of our pool and the size of our deck.
Yeah,
So,
Dave Moore, and is the host for our council meeting.
You there? Almost?
What's that?
Okay.
Yes.
I'll keep going.
Yes.
Yes.
Chip's supposed to be the host for our council meeting. Is he there? Can you get me in?
I must be talking.
Yeah.
Fine.
He's not
I'll
able
try
to mute his
talk
phone,
again.
so.
Okay. Anyway, so SwimSafe worked through the formula for our pool, and the result gave us a social distancing capacity of 98 people. So hold that in your mind. And we needed to put together an online schedule to control the 98 person count. We did accomplish that. I think it was last Friday. So we are breaking the 98 people into a combination of 70 who will sign up or could sign up in advance, and 28 walk-ins per session. Reason being, we do take a lot of walk-ins, so that seemed like a reasonable number. All of this we'll keep monitoring and make changes as we need to, but that was a good starting point, we felt. It's also necessary to structure the pool time into 3 sessions. So this is because the state requires the facility to be disinfected every 2 to 3 hours. And the pool itself, I want to explain that the pool has chlorine, it is fine. That's not what's getting disinfected. It's everything else that you can think of: ladders, chairs, the entire restroom facility, the concession area, picnic tables. All of those things have to be disinfected every 2 to 3 hours. So because of that, we have 3 sessions, one that runs from, oh, there's the mayor. Welcome. Well, he's got his picture and his phone number there. We have one from 12 to 3, one from 3 to 6, and then a shorter one from 6 to 8. They get, in the first 2 sessions, they get 2 hours of swimming. The first half hour is devoted to check-in. Requires a waiver, confirmation of everybody, and any of their information for tracing purposes. And then on the other end, the second half hour, half hour for all the check-in, 2 hours of swimming, then half hour for exiting and cleaning of the pool. People do have to totally leave from their session because they can't use the disinfectant spray while anybody sitting in their chair or moving around the area. So that's the purpose for having to vacate the premises. I also adjusted the daily admission to be based on available slots. Since we have 70 slots that can be filled, there's a flat rate of $5 per person per slot, regardless of age. Reason for that is no matter what your age, if you're filling one of those slots, you're filling one of those slots. So typically we would charge $8 for the day. This is $5 for a slot. Members, of course, don't pay that amount. They can come and go as they can per session. They too have to leave though after their session. So those are the major changes. If I went through any of those too quickly, I'm happy to go over them again, but they all kind of work together to create first this set number of people. The 98 too, I think I failed to say that that's 98 per session that we can do. That's not 98 just for the whole day. So that makes it a little bit better for us. These were the major changes. There were lots and lots of smaller ones as well, like the drinking fountain's not working. Well, it's working, but it can't be used. That's one of the state requirements. So people have to bring their water bottles. What else? There's a whole long line of things. I've been trying to keep our website updated. We're sending out village headlines as we can and getting it on Nextdoor to get the word out as these things change or have come about. Also know that there will be swim lessons this year. They're going to look a little bit different. I just got some additional information. It looks like they will possibly start as soon as the week of June 22nd, but they wanted to get a couple of weeks under their belt working under this new scenario. Also, I do want to mention SwimSafe. We're very lucky to have them. I mean, they've been able to pull this off. It's just amazing what they've been able to put together, and all of their staff is trained under all the new guidelines already. So that has been very helpful. Also, I don't know if any of you caught it, but Channel 9 had some really good coverage for our pool this afternoon as well. Okay, sorry for digressing, but back on the swim lessons again. One of the biggest changes is there will have to be an adult present for every child who's registered for the class. They will be in the water with their child, and they'll be teaching it from the side of the pool. So it's a big difference, but it's also kind of a good one that there would be a parent that would be learning alongside a child. So more info to follow on that, but it will happen. Our other recreation facilities, our tennis courts, we're able to just, yes.
Is it the water slide is shut down due to the?
Right. Yes, good point. Yes, it is due to the inability to social distance at the top of the slide. It's just too close to quarters.
I have 2 questions in regard to the pool. May I ask them now?
And
Okay.
Ms.
Okay.
Howard,
I'm sorry.
may I ask 2 questions now having to do with the pool?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Number 1, the number I was told first was 89. It has changed to 98, or it was a
No,
mistake?
it's always been 98.
98. Okay. Second,
Correct.
when the people would leave because their slot is over, and then they have to clean up, if there are lots available, I was there this afternoon to see how everything was working out. It was very nice. It was really clockwork, and my hat goes off to the people from Swing Safe. It was they were, at the time when I was there were 59 people. And my question is, once those 59 leave at the end of their time and everything is sanitized, the new bunch will come in. What if another 59 only come in? Can someone of the were in the first slot can reapply to come on the second slot as well, or not?
We think that will work out. You know,
Okay.
again, this was the first day. We have
I
to see
know.
how it works, and we want to be sure that everybody is able to get in, but there probably would, at this point, we're not seeing a downside. If somebody were to, they do have to leave. They can't leave any of their materials there and come back. They would probably have to pay the $5 fee again, unless they're a member, then they don't.
Oh, they
But
will
yeah,
have to
they
pay.
could come in on, they
They'll
could come
have
in
to
on one of
pay
the
again?
28 slots.
They will
I'm sorry,
have to pay again when they come in the second time that day.
if you're not a member, yes.
Oh, if you're not a member, okay, but if you are,
Correct.
that's not a problem. Okay.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Members wouldn't
and
pay.
then I also suspect that it will be the attendance will be higher. Let's just say on Saturday and Sunday. That's kind of the rigueur. During the week, other people are working and so forth, and that might not be as prevalent. But is that also part? I didn't see it on the website, or is that going to be added later, or just to see how it works the first week?
Well, the online scheduling is on the website. It's the very first article on the homepage.
Yes, I know, but
Um,
I'm saying the person can come back the second time if there's an empty slots there left. Is that also stated there? I didn't see that, or I missed.
No, we're right now we had it written for one session. We, didn't know what to expect. And I think we probably want to get through like an entire week to make sure before we
That's what I
start telling
thought.
people to come back
Yeah.
and they can't get in. So
Oh,
after about a week,
okay, and if
I'll
you-
envision just making
if-
some changes.
And if you do that, then you will add it also on the website.
Absolutely. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Other questions on that right now? Okay, well, let me continue with our other recreation facilities. Again, I think I had mentioned the tennis courts have reopened. We're still waiting to hear about our picnic shelter and playgrounds. And it's my understanding that concerts are still not permitted. However, Spoils Field, baseball, softball, is opening with restrictions. Mike is working diligently on that. Will be opening as of June 1st.
What would be the drawback in opening the tennis courts?
Well, they're allowed to open, so we
Oh,
opened them.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
Um,
misunderstood.
No, that's okay. And there's not much that we had to do there because we don't have a lot of things people can touch except for the gate, and we have, quite frankly, opened the gate so people don't have to manually do that, and then that'll get
Okay.
disinfected every day as well. I think I had mentioned in one of my previous reports that Mike got the equipment necessary and the disinfectant to be spraying our playgrounds and things like that on a regular basis now. So we're ready for that. Regarding the municipal building, I'm planning to reopen the municipal building on June 1st. That's next Monday. It will be with restrictions. For example, we have a very small lobby area. We're going to limit that to 2 people at any one time. So if people see someone in here, they'll have to wait outside until that person leaves so they can come in. Also, the state is requiring elevators. Ours is of the size that it'll be 1 person in the elevator at a time. We're going to suggest that visitors wear face masks or face coverings of some sort, and there will still be no visitors in our actual office areas. We'll conduct our meetings upstairs with social distancing in council chambers. And then, whenever you guys are ready, think you're ready to start doing meetings in person, we'll figure out the social distancing for that as well. Any comments or questions on that?
And with all the problems I've had with logging in again, I would be leaning quite heavily to, for sure, our next televised meeting to be at the council chambers. And possibly we may be able to do our work session if everybody feels that they're comfortable enough getting within 6 feet of each other.
If you put that as a motion, I second it, Mr. Mayor.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. So we'll
I have some
tentatively,
more. Sorry.
unless there's a big issue that comes up between now and the work session, then we'll probably try to do it at the city building.
Okay. Want to also give you a financial update. Our income tax collections from April were down approximately 75,000 from the same period last year. In the next few days, we'll start seeing numbers for more of May, which will tell us if we're pretty much on track with that original estimate of somewhere between 450 and 500,000 for the year. Sadly, at this point in time, that looks like that's going to probably be pretty realistic. I do have some suggested expenses to hold off on. Those would include our 2 vehicles, one for the police, one for the service department, the roundabout, and some park upgrades that we had hoped to do for the new town park. I'm not saying eliminate these, but we should probably hold off on those until we know that we can comfortably afford them. As for other revenues, we did see a small decrease in the permissive tax for April. It was down more than half of the amount received in March. Deb is here if anybody has any questions. We received, for example, $1,200 versus $2,700 the previous month. But if you remember the BMB, that has also been closed, and I think they've only recently opened up. So hopefully that figure will recover. On a bright note, Destiny's has been able to continue making their rent payments, and they are now able to hold weddings of 300. Some of these things are kind of, I mean, that's good, but the variation is amazing. But that's good for them. So that's good for us. They can start having weddings. And as I mentioned earlier, Spoils Field will be opening up. So June 1st, we should start seeing some revenue there. Hard to believe, but our 2021 tax budget, Deb's working on that. We hope to have the tax budget hearing at that first June meeting. And then passing it probably in late June, because that's due in July, right, Deb?
Yes, mid-July.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing I want to mention was our new electronic sign, which just got right in there in the midst of all this. I hope you all like it. I think it's beautiful. We haven't had any training on it yet, and I have to give all the credit to Mike, has figured out everything that's down on that sign so far. So I really appreciate what he's been able to do down there. But it looks like it's going to be enormously flexible for us, and really we'll be able to get a lot of good information out on that. So I thank Mike for that. And that's what I have at this point in time.
Okay. Do you want to just make a quick comment that I think issue 2 of the questions sent in that you're working on that?
Oh, yes, I did want to mention that I want the council to know that is a situation we're aware of, and we have started working on that. Right now, the zoning certificate was denied for that, and they are in an appeal time frame right now. So we are working on it.
The zoning certificate for what? I'm sorry, I missed the first part.
The application for a zoning certificate
Okay.
was denied. I denied it, and so they had 30 days to appeal. That time frame's been running for a little bit, but they can appeal to BZA for that. Based on the additional information we received from the person who wrote the email, though, there are additional violations, and they're being informed of that as well. It'll be an additional time frame for them to be rectifying those, so we can take legal action. Correct, Mr. Forbes?
Okay. Law Director Jeff Forbes.
Thank you, Mayor. As you may have seen from my written report, The state legislature is not that active right now, so there are no really new bills of municipal interest. And as I like to say, we also have no pending legal action at this time. So beyond that, I don't have anything to report tonight.
Okay. Would you comment on the 5G issue where we have several people that feel the village has the power to do something as it relates to this, which I feel you should be able to explain to them since the state took it away from us and the feds?
Well, yeah, as you'll notice in one of the emails that you got tonight, even acknowledges that state law and federal law has preempted the ability of the local bodies to regulate these devices. So I've said this a number of times before. The last thing that happened at the state level is that it essentially removed almost all of your ability to regulate small cell facilities in the public right of way. You have very, very limited ability to deal with these. You don't really have a permitting process for them. I think one individual tonight suggested that you require insurance requirements as part of that permitting process. I can only say again, we don't have a permitting process for small cell facilities in the right of way. And the only ability that we have to regulate that is governed by state law, and the state law does not give us the permission to have an insurance requirement. So beyond that, I'm not sure how else to explain that there really isn't much local authority to prevent or prohibit or regulate small cell facilities in municipal right of way. And that's a combination of federal law and fairly recent state law.
Okay, thanks. All right, moving on, clerk of council. Can't read your name, Tanya.
Yeah.
Nothing to report.
Okay, moving on, Police Chief Neil Furman.
Thanks, Mayor. As Yvonne mentioned, the coronavirus has affected us all, and it's certainly affected our methods of policing. We typically like to be a part of rather than apart from the community. That hasn't been the case in the last month or two. We felt pretty isolated right along with everyone else, and it reflects some unusual criminal and traffic statistics during the past month. For the first time that I can remember, we reported only one Part 1 crime last month, which is a rate even lower than normal in relatively crime-free Greenhills. We did make 8 arrests compared to 42 the same time last year. Burglaries and thefts have been reduced to 0 since our residents are now our very effective neighborhood watch because they're typically home. This is an upside to an otherwise depressing time, but nonetheless, we'll be happy to interact with our residents whenever that's possible. We did participate in a limited basis on the recent Police Memorial Week. Typically, there's parade and ceremonies with a large crowd, but that did not occur. But Officer Eric Tricase, who represents us on the Hamilton County Police Association Honor Guard, participated almost all day with that. Our newest addition, Corporal Mike Mathis, was there, and I also participated in the ceremony. We did have a few silver linings during the pandemic. We had a young lady by the name of Helen Kovac. That last name may sound a bit familiar to you. She's a criminal justice major at Michigan State, and she made us a plate of very delicious and highly decorated Police Week cookies. We had a resident, Bev Ventura, that sent in pizzas to our officers. And later in the week, we continued to scrounge for supplies as we continued to disinfect our police cruisers and workstations. And Mike Castor, our services foreman, checked various stores for us. And Mike encountered Tom Good, who's the store manager over at Lowe's in Springdale. When Mr. Good found out that the disinfectants were for the police department, He donated a case of Clorox wipes, which is almost as valuable as toilet paper, and a half a dozen spray bottles of disinfectant. So we're very appreciative to all those who were kind to us during these trying times. Unfortunately, crime goes on elsewhere, and on April 24th, the Hamilton County Comm Center broadcast an alert to be on the lookout for a particular vehicle that was involved in assaulting and robbing a victim with a knife. And while on patrol, our officer, Philip Means, alertly noticed a vehicle matching the description that was broadcast. He followed it. He attempted to get it to stop. It started to travel at a high rate of speed. He activated his overhead lights. The vehicle ran through a stop sign, pulled into a yard, and stopped. The suspect tried to flee, and Officer Means and Officer Zach Clark jumped fences through yards, tried to catch the driver, but lost sight of him in the darkness. Officer Clark then spotted a shadow moving in a backyard, and the driver was apprehended. The alertness of these officers resulted in the apprehension of a violent felon, and they were commended for their swift actions and tactics. We do have a happy story to report. You may recall that we became aware of a senior in our school system whose mom was struggling with limited means of funding, and deadlines were approaching, and mom and daughter were trying to gather enough money for a cap and gown rental. Because of the generosity of many of our residents, we have a community fund, and we use that to assist this young lady with renting her cap and gown. And if you check our monthly report, there's a beautiful picture of her with a $1 million smile, very happily graduating in that cap and gown. So we thank our many residents who make these things possible. We are training our officers still, but most standard training has been canceled, so we've relied on online training. Our newest officer, Officer Bacon, completed many online training courses recently, and Officer Mathis, Corporal Mathis, completed security training from the Attorney General's office, and our police clerk completed Leeds agency security training. During the month of April, we investigated 4 accidents, 1 crime, as I mentioned, 260 other incidents. We had 503 contacts. 132 of those were dispatched or received by telephone, and 371 were initiated by our officers. We provided assistance to the public in 213 instances. We assisted other agencies 34 times, made 8 criminal arrests, and 7 traffic arrests. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any questions of the chief? All right, moving on, we have me, and I have court receipts for the month of February. The state of Ohio received $1,746.50, Hamilton County $51, and the village of Greenhills $6,837.20. And then for the month of April, I don't seem to have March. Month of April, the state of Ohio, $848, Hamilton County, $22.50, and the village of Greenhills, $4,573.41. And I will make a comment since somebody wanted to know if what kind of information I had on people, and it's just a gut feel that knowing that the people that are crazy about the internet and downloading videos and what have you, and it seems to be that those type of people are eager to get something faster. So, I don't, somebody could do a community survey if they wanted to. I don't think it would make any difference right now because we can't do anything about it. So that's my spin again today. All right, committee reports, Recreation, Cable Television, Natasha Metz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Kovac already talked about all the updates for recreation. The only thing I really want to mention is that as of today, we're still planning to move forward with Harvest Fest. So the application is available online. If you know of anybody that's interested in being a vendor or being a part of that, please send them the application to submit. So That's all I have. That's all my report.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, if I could. Do you think that we should reach out earlier rather than later to any food vendors or some of the entertainment people?
Anybody that was a vendor last year has already received the application from Brenda, and I believe, Yvonne, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Brenda has already secured all music entertainment for the event.
I believe she has. Yes, I'll confirm that.
I just wondered because everybody's situation has changed so much. It seems like
Right.
Right. Yeah, definitely. No, I had emailed Brenda earlier just to double check, and she said that she'd sent it to all of the previous vendors from last year. So I'm mainly considering anybody that wants, we're trying to expand the event. So if anybody new is interested in being a vendor, to let them know. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Next up, Intergovernmental Affairs, Laws and Rules, Mary Walther.
We have not met Mr. Mayor, and I'm just waiting for Ms. Kovac whenever she has something that needs to be discussed to let me know to set a date on that and time. I usually work together with Melanie on that because we are together also in safety. So we try to put both meetings together the same time, the same day at different times, but within half an hour. So as soon as I hear that there's something that needs to be studied, discussed, question, anything like that, we promptly would set a meeting.
Okay. All right. Service and Streets, Jennifer Osman.
It's monocle. As monocle, yeah.
We set a meeting for the Streets and Services Committee, and that'll be next Wednesday at 9 o'clock.
Okay. All right. Community Development, Jeff Halder.
Good. We need to set up a meeting. So when that's put, when we get that our schedules together, we'll let everybody know. Excited about the sign. I think there's a lot of potential there. And in a way, that's our new banner. And it's with the ability to adjust, we really got another way of letting people know about. Can be letting them know about council meetings, as you're already doing, like Mike said, Mike put on there about the swimming pool opening up. I think it's a great opportunity, and just look forward to hopefully using that wisely to talk to the village and also let them know what businesses are here and help them along as well. That concludes my report.
Safety, Melanie Hermes.
Yes, our next meeting is going to be Tuesday, June 23rd at 5:30. And if there's anything that any council member wants us to discuss, I'm open to it. That's it. And thank
Okay,
you to
Melanie,
everyone.
is that okay with putting also a laws and rules meeting that same day?
That should be fine.
Okay, and then what, we'll do it at 6?
That should be fine.
Okay, Ms. Kovac, are you with us on that? Are you available?
Yes, I made note of that.
Okay, there it is.
Okay. Finance and Audit, Jack Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We will have a brief finance meeting approximately 10 o'clock after the Streets and Services meeting on June 3rd as well. Would like to discuss the April figures that were sent out to us and look at that relative to the report that the manager gave this evening. So other than that, Mr. Mayor, I have nothing else to report.
Hey.
Dave, I do have a question for Jeff Forbes. I think it belongs with Jeff. As far as our committee meetings go, we still have the right to meet virtually, right? Is that true? Or do we need to be meeting physically?
The committees abide by the same rules as council. So as long as council is able to continue with the virtual electronic meetings, so can the committees.
Okay.
And actually, I think if you look at the written report that I sent out, I put a little blurb in there. Okay. Of how long we'll be able to continue this. Although I understand we'd like to get back to in-person meetings as soon as you can. You are permitted to continue with this type of meeting as long as the governor's state of emergency is still in effect.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, moving on, we have no unfinished business, new business. We have resolution number 2020-09-F, resolution requesting information from the Hamilton County Auditor for purposes of evaluating and leveling a tax exceeding the 10 mil limitation. Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 2020-09 Finance. Resolution requesting information from the Hamilton County Auditor for purposes of evaluating and levying a tax exceeding the 10 mil limitation. Whereas the Village Council has preliminarily determined that the amount of taxes which may be raised within the 10 mil limitation will be insufficient to fund necessary services provided by the Village of Greenhills, Hamilton County, Ohio. And whereas the primary purpose and intent of such funding is for recreational purposes as authorized by Section 5705.19H of the Ohio Revised Code. And whereas Ohio Revised Code 5705.03 requires the Village Council to obtain certain information from the county auditor prior to proceeding with the submission of a tax levy to the electors of the village. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Village of Greenhills, Hamilton County, Ohio, members thereunto concurring, that Section 1, the Village Council has preliminarily determined that it is necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the benefit of the residents of Greenhills, Ohio for recreational purposes as authorized by Ohio Revised Code 5705.19H for a period of 5 years. Section 2, the question of the renewal levy being submitted to the electors of the Village of Greenhills at the November election to be held at the usual places within said Village of Greenhills on the 3rd day of November 2020. Section 3, said levy shall be placed upon the tax list of 2020 for collection in 2021 if the majority of electors voting therein vote in favor thereof. Section 4, the Village Council hereby requests information from the county auditor related to the current total tax valuation of the village and the dollar amount of revenue that would be generated by a levy of tax at a rate not exceeding 0.700 mils for each $1 valuation. Section 5, the clerk of the village the clerk of the village council is hereby directed to immediately certify to the county auditor this resolution and to obtain from the county auditor the information requested hereunder. Section 6, this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its adoption. Mr. Mayor, I move for the adoption of this resolution.
We have a second?
Second it.
Just for a point of clarification, this is a renewal of the existing recreation levy that is already on the books and has been on the books. Each 5 years, this levy comes up for renewal, and this is just the process to follow through on that.
No tax increase.
No tax increase.
So it's exactly the same, just being renewed, because there's other things going around. People are thinking that it's increased. It's exactly the same. We just have to put it on the ballot every 5 years. No increases at all.
Correct. That is correct.
Okay. Maybe that's something that we need to put also on the website, because there's a lot of people stopping me, asking me how much more it is, and I told them, as far as I know, it's a modified renewal. We need the blessing to put it back on the ballot, and it would be the same amount that has been on for I don't know how many years. As long as I've been here, I know it has been. So I think maybe a correction that way that people can find that information might be, I don't know, a good idea.
Well, and Yvonne will probably mention it when she does her column for the journal too.
The journal, right?
The journal, that might be also a very good idea.
Mhm.
Yeah. Also, I received a comment that they used to put the minutes, etc., and some of the resolutions that had passed, etc., and what is about, but they have not been doing that in the newspaper for a while. They have not received it, and they wanted to receive the minutes after they have been voted on. They wanted to receive those minutes to put a little
Can,
explanation or summary of what has gone on.
can we proceed with the motion on the floor?
Okay, clerk, call the roll.
Halter,
Aye.
Hermes,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Metz,
Aye.
Osmanoglu,
Aye.
Walther,
Aye.
Okay, resolution 2020-09 finance passes. Next, we need a motion to appoint clerk of council. And Maria, do you want to do that motion?
I sure can. Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to appoint Tanya Kohler as the clerk of council at the rate of the $14 per hour, like it says on the minutes here on the agenda.
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries.
Okay.
All right, and let's see, we have anything else? Want to go back over the meetings that are scheduled. Laws and rules will be at 6 o'clock on 6/23. Safety will be at 5:30 on 6/23.
Yes.
Service and Streets, 9 o'clock Wednesday, 6/3, and Finance, 10 o'clock, 6/3.
That's right.
Now I have a question. If we have the meeting, the regular council meeting in the chambers, do we also, are we okay to have the meeting in the premises there of the council room before the meeting? Or do we have to do at Zoom, the committee meeting, and then run to the council meeting?
I think we'll have to work that out, but I'm inclined um, to try to do it in person versus.
Well, we
trying to-
both would be there. We have to be for the council meeting, and both of us, one has a meeting at 5:30, the other one at 6.
Yes, right,
Otherwise, we'll be running all over the place.
right. So we'll tie that up for sure, but my inclination right now is to try to have those meetings at the municipal building.
Okay.
Right? Anybody have anything else? If not, I call this meeting adjourned.